All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Math Lesson 108. Something a little bit different today. Today we are talking about schedules. So before we dive into it, I want to go and say you want to read carefully to find all the information you need. When you're looking at a schedule, it's always going to be different every time. You really got to dig in and read carefully. And remember to think like a clock. So to start off right now, here is one sample schedule that they're giving us. You want to look at the headings. Here they're listing all the different times and events. And as you go along here, maybe you can recognize this. This looks like a schedule off of a track meet, right? So let's start reading right now what it's saying. Daphne qualified for both the 300-meter low hurdles and the 200-meter dash. Her second race starts how many minutes after the start of her first race? So we got a couple of things we got to look for. Her two events, the 300-meter low hurdles. Let's see what we can find on the schedule here. 300-meter low hurdles. Don't confuse it. We have two 300-meter events. We have the low hurdles and the intermediate hurdles. Looks to me like the low hurdles is starting at 310. And she also qualified for the 200-meter dash. Let's go and find the 200-meter dash on the schedule. There it is, and the 200-meter dash is starting at 340. So they want to know her second race starts how many minutes after the start of her first race. And I kind of put some hands on the clock right now to help you out a little bit. Be aware it's not always going to be that easy. So the first race is at 310. The second race is going to be here at 340, right? Let's go and count the number of minutes from 310 to 340. Hopefully everybody knows that's 5 minutes, right? And 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and 30 minutes. So, 30 minutes between the start of her first event and her second event. Let's check out this one. We're still using the same schedule. Tad qualified for the 1,600-meter run. Usually, he starts warming up 45 minutes before the start of the race. What time does Tad start warming up at? So let's go ahead and find the time for the 1,600-meter run. There it is, starting at 2 p.m. And as you see, I put hands on the clock at 2 p.m. But he wants to start warming up 45 minutes before the start of the race. What would be 45 minutes before 2 p.m.? The minute you start going before, is it 2 o'clock anymore? No, right now it's 1:55. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So what time would it be 45 minutes before 2 p.m.? It's not going to start with a 2 anymore, is it? It's before 2 p.m. Well, the hour before 2 p.m. is 1, right? And if it landed right here, this would be 1:15. And don't forget to put in your AM or your PM. So this time I'm going to have 1:15 p.m. for our time. Check out this one. We have a totally new schedule And the trickiest part about this is they did not put AM or PM. They just used A's and P's. That sometimes throws kids off for a bit of a loop. So plane schedules are a little bit tricky. You gotta read them this way. David leaves, he departs Oklahoma City, and he's gonna fly to Chicago. Then he's gotta change planes, and he's gonna take off in a different plane, and then finally arrive in Indianapolis. And when he wants to go back home, the same thing's going to happen. He's got to board a plane in Indianapolis and he's going to fly to St. Louis. But if he wants to get back home to Oklahoma City, he has to change planes at St. Louis, and that will finally take him back home. So David's departure from Indianapolis is how many days after his arrival? So let's go ahead and find out, when does he actually arrive in Indianapolis? Under arrive, here it is. So it looks like he's arriving in Indianapolis on August 22nd. 10:38 a.m. is when he arrives, right? Let's go find out what time he departs in Indianapolis. Under departure, here it is. August 29th at 9:58 a.m. But they're not talking time on this one yet. They want to know how many days there are. So we just have to figure out how many days there are from the 22nd to the 29th of August. Can you do that one in your head? Hopefully you know there would be 7 days from the 22nd to the 29th. Okay, one more question using the same plane schedule. Take a look at this question. Here it says, David needs to change planes on his way back to Indianapolis and on his way back to Oklahoma City. The first question, in which cities does he change planes? So we kind of talked about it. First, he's flying from Oklahoma to Chicago, but then he has to change planes and then go from Chicago to Indianapolis. So I think we already got the one for our first answer. What city does he change planes in the first time? He would change planes in Chicago the first time. Let's take a look at the flight again. On his way back, he's going from Indianapolis to St. Louis. Then he's got to make a plane change. So where is the second plane change at? Hopefully you saw it. His second plane change is going to be in St. Louis. So we're actually going to be looking for 2 sets of times. How much time did he have to change planes in Chicago? And how much time did he take to change planes in St. Louis? So let's go ahead and take a look at the Chicago here. We have from 8:09 to 9:43. Now here's the deal. I just can't put these 2 numbers on top of each other and subtract. Let's go and count first the number of minutes. I like counting up to the next hour. Let's figure out how many minutes it's going to be from 8:09 just until 9 o'clock. From 8:09 until 9 o'clock, that looks like it's going to be 51 minutes, right? Now let's go from 9 o'clock to 9:43, and that's going to be another 43 minutes. Go and take these 2 amount of minutes, let's add them up, and I end up with 94 minutes. But it gets even trickier because we're never going to tell somebody, hey, it took 94 minutes, because that's way over an hour, right? So now we have to go and subtract 60 minutes off of that again. Subtract our 1 hour, and find out how many minutes we have left. So I took away 1 hour off of this 94 minutes, and that left 34 remaining minutes for a grand total of 1 hour and 34 minutes for a layover in Chicago. Let's go ahead and try it again for St. Louis. So in St. Louis, he's arriving at 11:03 and departing at 12:04. So let's go and count the number of minutes. First of all, from 11:03 just to straight up 12 o'clock, right? How many minutes would there be between 11:03 and 12 o'clock? Do you see it? You would have 57 minutes between 11:03 and straight up 12 o'clock. Now let's tack on that extra 4 minutes from 12 o'clock to 12:04. So we're tacking on the extra 4 minutes, 57 minutes, plus 4 more minutes to get us up to 12:04 is going to give us a grand total of 61 minutes. Do we have to go and do a whole lot of subtracting? 61 minutes is how many minutes and how many hours? So 61 minutes is 1 whole hour and 1 extra minute. Okay, so a brand new schedule, this one looking like a train schedule. Take a look at the time it's arriving, the time it's departing, all the different cities, right? So here it's saying how many hours and minutes are there from the time the train departs Juliet until the time it arrives in Springfield. So let's go and find, first of all, the time that departs Juliet is 10:45 a.m. The time that's going to arrive in Springfield is 2:50 p.m. So we got to keep track of a couple of things. We got to keep track of the number of hours and the number of minutes, right? So we just can't put these two numbers on top of each other and subtract. You won't get the correct answer. You got to think like a clock. So let's first of all figure out the total number of minutes to the next even hour. The next even hour is going to be 11 a.m., right? How many total minutes are there from 10:45 a.m. to 11? And that's looking like 15 minutes, right? So now we want to go and keep track of just the straight up hours from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. From 11 to 2, that's going to be 3 hours right there, right? But we're not totally done yet because now we got to go from 2 p.m. to 2:50. That's going to be another 50 minutes. So let's go and add how many total minutes we have here. 15 minutes plus another 50 minutes. Man, that's 65 minutes. Well, 65 minutes, that doesn't make any sense. I would never say somebody, hey, it's going to take me 3 hours and 65 minutes. Because remember, there's 60 minutes in an hour. So this is actually 1 more hour and only 5 extra minutes. So now let's totally add everything up. I have 4 hours and 5 minutes. 4 hours, 5 minutes. And feel free to label with hours and minutes. I'm kind of taking a shortcut because it's awfully tough to write with a smart pen right now. My smart pen is not being very smart. And that, my friends, is the end. You are definitely going to want a scratch piece of paper and a pencil for this one. Read all your information carefully and good luck.